Hey folks, Doc here. Wasn't planning on shooting a video today, but here we are. I'm off on a road trip to pick up something cool, and for once, I'm not driving, with my buddy Greg. Say hey, Greg.
Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing good. I'm gonna continue on with my drive here.
There you go. He's gonna drive. Anyways, we've picked up something cool. I'm just gonna kind of do one of these things and tease you a little bit and show you the rest later. Stick around, we'll show you. Anyways, Greg here has just recently, thanks to myself, been sucked into the rabbit hole of off-roading lawn tractor stuff.
Yes, thank you for the extra expense.
Absolutely. I'm happy to help whenever I can. So you're going to be seeing a lot more Greg on this channel because we're going to be wrenching together and riding together and generally having a good time. And I mean, he's already looking at this thing that we've got on the trailer back here and saying, hey, what parts of that can I have? So that's how I know he's been successfully sucked in. Right on. So anyways, when I get the chance, which probably won't be this afternoon, it's going to be a few days before I put this video together, I'll walk you around what I picked up. And then we're going to bring on the hate mail because I'm going to get it. But there's a good reason for it. So I'll see you in a bit. It is absolutely windy as hell out here today. It's gusting pretty strong and I apologize for that. I'm going to do my best. I've got the lapel mic here thing going because the camera mic seems to be worse for wind. So anyways, I'm just going to proceed. It's been a few days since I shot that little intro video. Well, it's been a week really. Been busy, what can I say? There's that wind. So the conditions have changed. It was kind of cold and then it snowed and then it warmed up and then it was lightly snowing again this morning and that's melted, but now it's cold again. Climate change, right? Anyhow, I am going to update you on a couple of things. I'm going to show you what I picked up. You can just kind of see a little bit over my shoulder there. Show you what I picked up and I'm going to give you the beginnings of why I picked it up. Then you are going to pause the video, send me a bunch of I hate you comments and don't do that comments, and then you're going to unpause the video and I'm going to explain why and hopefully redeem myself just a little bit. There is a method to my madness, and in this particular case I consider it pretty good reason. So on with the show. What you see here is an Economy Power King. These things were manufactured mid-70s to mid-80s. It is a garden tractor and they're quite beefy. Already you're looking at the screen going, hey, listen, look at that, look at that, look at that. Yep, look at those. There is a reason I picked this thing up and the beef is the reason. First off, this is not a particularly good example of an old Economy Power King. There's tin work missing and, you know, the paint's horrible. Somebody put on these rib tires on the back which are absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if they had a belly mower or something like that and they were just basically trying to protect turf, but obviously these are not what you would consider traction tires, and they're like 16-inch wheels, so getting proper tractor tires for it, you know, can be done. Obviously they're going to be spendy. One could put, for example, aggressive, you know, mud and snow automotive tires on there. They'd go on those rims, whatever. The front wheels and tires, well, obviously the tires are trailer tires, Carlisle Sport Trails. Stop me if you've seen these before, Diesel Weasel. I'm not even sure if those are the proper front wheels. When I was looking at examples of this thing online, I was seeing like 12-inch wheels in the front. Anywho, on with the show. The engine is not original. Let me just get the hood open there. You see I had to rig a temporary tank. Apparently the hood catch isn't connected at the moment. So the engine is not original. It's a Kohler Magnum single. Can't remember if it's a 14 or 16 horse, and there's markings somewhere. And maybe I can't see them. Oh yeah, they're in there. Anyways, whatever. Kohler Magnum single, not the original. The original was a Kohler. I think 14 horsepower, don't quote me on that. I'm still trying to dig things up and it's kind of hard to nail this down without any notable serial numbers or tags or whatever. It has hydraulics. This pump is an automotive power steering pump, and I guess that was a clever ad for somebody, because I don't think that that was an original piece. Any of the ones that I saw online had, you know, a more conventional hydraulic pump, but you know, don't fool yourselves. A power steering pump is a hydraulic pump and can be used as such. And somebody did that. So it's got a hydraulic pump and a single spool and quick connects. Well, at least one of them. The other one's missing back here for, you know, a 3-point or something like that that could have been added on. But that's kind of not important to me. What's important to me is the hardware. Back to front or front to back? Let's start at the back. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I'll try and get in here as best as I can. Look at that beefy differential. Automotive style. And has like portal style hubs in the rear. They're gear reduction hubs, I'm gathering. There's a brake in there. Each one of these levers is a brake lever, so it's got turning brakes. I'm also not sure what the factory state of that was. I did see versions of this that had pedals. At any rate, this side doesn't seem to work. This side does work. I'll deal with that later. Next up, the transmission. Now, anybody that's hung around on my channel for a little while should probably recognize that transmission. So I'll just flip over to the other side here. These transmissions were made for decades under a couple of different brands. These ones I think were Borg Warner. Anyways, it's a T92. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. T92 3-speed. The exact same transmissions that they put in Bannerman's. The exact same transmission. And the only thing that's different is input and output shafts. Obviously they were geared towards the original equipment that they were placed in. But the internals are all the same, shift pattern's the same, gearing's the same, everything's the same. So a beefy transmission, and you know, I guess you'd call that a torque tube, some would. It's an enclosed drive shaft anyways. Moving forward a little bit more, you can see that bell housing. And what lies within that bell housing is cool as hell. And I mean, you can only see the, I guess, flywheel side of it, if you'd want to call it that. This has a proper automotive style pressure plate and dry disc clutch. There's the pedal right there. It's kind of hard for me to push one-footed while I'm holding the camera and steadying it, which obviously does work because you saw me roll in here. So the entire drive line of this thing is pure beef. Shaft drive, proper clutch, hell of a transmission, and a kick-ass rear end. The steering box is good. Oh, look, we got snow starting to fall too. Steering box is cool, and the offset steering is a little weird to drive, but the speed handle makes it easier. It's just off to your side, and it's really not that bad to deal with. So there you have the ultimate beef that is the Economy Power King. I bought this thing in a non-running state, and as you can see, I had to rig a temporary tank on there. And the reason for that is the fuel pump was being dumb and not working, and the factory tank sits just a little bit low for it to fuel itself halfway decently. It was getting, you know, dribs and drabs and dribbles, but the carburetor's pretty high under that plastic box, and it just wasn't cutting it. So one of those little diesel tanks to the rescue, and a new spark plug, and I got it running. Guess I'll use this moment to remind you all to never guess and never assume anything and never take anybody's word for anything. I bought this thing in a non-running state, and the guy said to me, it has fuel, it has spark, it has plenty of compression, don't know why it won't run. He then started going on about the decompressor, which, to be perfectly honest with you, some of you Kohler guys will know this better than me. I don't know if the Magnum singles had a compression relief mechanism. I think some of the K-series did. Y'all can correct me, I know you will. I know the Hondas and the Briggs and stuff like that just a little bit better. But he said, well, he thought maybe the decompressor wasn't working. And I thought to myself, I didn't say it out loud because, you know, you don't tip your hand because these are bargaining chips when you're paying for something. If the decompressor was somehow stuck on, he wouldn't have plenty of compression. And if the decompressor was non-functional, then it might have a hard time rolling through on starting. So I asked him, when you crank it, does it roll through okay, or does it do a half a lap and then stop? And he says, no, it rolls through fine. So I just kind of left it at that, knowing full well that he was barking up the wrong tree. Anyway, started testing on it, and the plug outside the chamber was producing spark, sure enough. Inside the chamber, shot of ether, I got nothing. And that right there is something else that you should note from a troubleshooting perspective, is just because a spark plug fires out in the open air does not mean it's firing properly in the combustion chamber. I grabbed a spark plug out of one of my old K-series Kohlers that I know is good, slammed it in, shot of ether, hit right off. Beautiful. Okay, now it, also isn't running. So dug in a little bit further, and before we even get into whether the carburetor's gacked or not, we're checking the fuel system. Carburetor bowl was dry. Okay, so let's pull the line off and crank it. Nothing coming out of the pump. Fantabulous, the pump's not working. Gravity feed running, good to go. So there you go. Never guess, never take anybody's word for anything. Test. We're now getting to the part where I tell you why I bought this magnificent piece of garbage. And as soon as I tell you why I bought this, you're going to hate me, and you're going to leave me a bunch of nasty comments. And I'm going to totally understand that, because I get it. And then I'll justify it, and you can tell me if you still hate my ass. Okay? Ready? I'm cutting it up. I'm parting it out. This thing will be a running and driving tractor no more as soon as I get the chance. It's getting nasty. I'm going to have to hurry up out here. Anyways, I'm assuming that you paused the video, left me a bunch of hate mail, and now you've resumed the video, and this is where I explain myself. I never made a public announcement until now. It took me a while to kind of get this right in my head and make sure I just didn't turn into a blubbering mess on camera. Sorry about that wind. You guys know that Lawn Guns Tractor Shop, good friend of mine, Chris, was ill. Very ill, not doing well. We did a charity ride, we brought up some money, help him pay his bills, yada, yada, yada. And on October 28th, Chris passed away. Sometimes things just don't make sense, and they're not fair and all that crap, and it is what it is, and I'm really missing you, man. So a lot of us are. Anyways, leading up to that, Chris was selling a bunch of his stuff. As you're aware, I bought Swamp Donkey, which is underneath this tarp behind me. That's Fugazi. Behind it is Swamp Donkey. It's wrapped up for now. I got to do some reorganizing. Anyways, I was talking to Chris before he passed away, and he wanted to do some modifications, some upgrades to Swamp Donkey. He had gone through 3 or 4 of the Peerless 2300 transaxles in there. Despite the fact that they are strong, they're getting old, they're getting worn out, parts are getting hard to find, and I think a couple of times instead of rebuilding, he just swapped. So I mean, it's not necessarily fair to say that he completely destroyed 3 or 4 of them. He just swapped 3 or 4 of them. As you know, I put one in before the Swamp Stomp ride. I'm sorry, it's really dry and windy out here and kind of cold, which is causing me to do that. Anyways, talking to Chris before he passed, he wanted to do something with the driveline to beef it up a little bit and perhaps use a transaxle that could tolerate the abuse. So I kind of spoke to a few friends. Steve's YouTube channel, which isn't very active right now, I think is Full Metal Fab on YouTube. Forgive me if I got that wrong. Anyways, my buddy Steve said, I've got a Cub transaxle for you, and I thought that's fantastic. We'll go with the Cub transaxle. Shaft drive, which unfortunately puts the shaft right in the way of the damn steering box that I just installed, but I guess I got to deal with that later. The other thing Chris wanted to do was put a diesel engine in it, and Chris gave me, well, post-mortem, a really big 2-cylinder Ducati out of a forklift. Things like 1,000 cc's and rated for all kinds of horsepower and stuff, but it's really big and it's really heavy, and I'm probably not going to use that. Chris, buddy, I promised you a diesel. I didn't promise you that diesel. Anyways, moving on. That was the plan until I came upon this Economy Power King. Pardon me. So anyways, the idea is to put the Power King rear axle and transmission in, and probably the engine for now, just to get things operational. I prefer what I call rolling projects, which is, you start work on something, otherwise they stall, right? And I've got projects, Boss Haas comes to mind, where it's like not running and not driving, and just it's going to take a lot. I got to get back to it. But anyways, I prefer rolling projects where you modify as you go. You know, you get the basics running like Swamp Donkey is, and then hopefully make a change at a time until it is what it is to become. So anyways, I plan on putting the entire Economy Power King driveline into Swamp Donkey, and then later on addressing what it's going to take to change engines. I should be able to do that. I have some adaptations to make, but surely to God I can solve that. As far as the fact that the Economy Power King is not designed to go quickly, and it is shaft drive and therefore difficult to speed up, I've got a plan for that too. I'll address that when I get to it. But I've got a really good idea in mind that I think is going to work. So again, hopefully some of that y'all are getting in there deleting your "I hate you, you must die" comments after I said I'm going to cut that thing up, because that is the plan. I guess this will just be a random video clip I scab in somewhere into an unrelated video. Just taking a quick moment to showcase the new trailer that I'm working on, if you want to call it new. This was a camper at some point in a previous life. It's been stripped down to a bare frame. And right now I'm just laying out my E-tracks for tie down. I'm making a new tractor hauler. So before I decked this thing, I was figuring out where all the structural members were and the best place for what I'm doing to get the E-track nailed down. So I've got the E-tracks all laid out over structural members so that they can be anchored down decently. And I probably don't need to explain this, you can tell by the tracks, but the idea here is to get one tractor, or the ability to load one tractor side loaded on the front and one up the middle from the rear. My little 4x8 utility trailer with the sidewalls, you've seen in previous videos, called Robo Trailer, is all fine and good and everything, but I could only carry one machine, and not even a big machine at that. Anything Bannerman sized wasn't going in it because I only had 50 inches between the sidewalls. It's 50, 48 inches plus 2. Good for carrying sheet goods, not good for carrying big tractors. So here's a little trailer here. I've got the E-tracks laid out for tie downs. I'm going to pull those off because they're not screwed down yet, and deck it in plywood for now. I'm not using deck boards because they're too heavy, and I still want to be able to pull this thing with my little Subaru. The cool thing about this is that it is fairly lightweight for the size. I'm trying to remember the exact dimensions right now. I think it's 6'4" wide, and if I include the back bumper, which I am going to deck over, I've got just under 10 feet in length. And the other neat feature about this is it has hydraulic surge brakes, and that way I don't need a brake controller for whatever I'm towing it with. Anyways, just thought I'd show you this little thing. Maybe I'll scab in a little clip after I've got the plywood screwed down. The tires are going to poke through the deck. Based on plywood dimensions, there's going to be some fairly large openings, which I will have to build fender wells for later. For now, it's just to get this thing operational so that at any given moment I can use it and update, upgrade, and improve as I go. Just another rolling project is what I call them. You know, being worked on, but still functional in the meantime. Okay, guess I'll just catch up on this real quick as I'm working on it here. Sun fades fast in the afternoon around here in the fall, go figure. Anyways, I've got the deck boards on and at least pinned down, not screwed down fully. Partially because I needed to get everything aligned properly and figure out where the E-tracks are going to go. Like I said before, lining up on structural members, which they are. I've got everything pinned in place and aligned and everything where it's got to go. So now I'm starting to screw the E-tracks down through the structural members. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. You'll probably see this in a video at some point or another, but in the meantime, this is kind of the in-progress thing. Like I said, I'll make some wheel tubs later. I'm probably going to change wheel and tire packages, so I don't want to finalize anything there just yet. For now, it will be fine, and I might just put something over them in the short term, just to keep Johnny Law off my back, because technically you are supposed to have fenders. Anyways, there you go. Okay, I guess this is what we'll call the final update, for now anyways. As you can see, the trailer is fully decked. I've got all the E-tracks screwed down, including some pieces in the corners for outboard corner tie-down points. The frame does stop short, so I'm going to have to put a little bit of support under there and some through bolts but I thought, you know, on some of the larger loads I might need some tie-down points that come right to the far corners, so I added those. I had the leftovers anyways. The fenders have been brought to you by 55-gallon steel drums. Well, pieces of one anyways. When I made my fire pit last year, I had, well, 2/3 of a drum left, so I just cut them up and there it is. See, I've got your service ports in there. Yeah, okay. Anyways, they're plenty strong. I can stand on them. I can roll a machine over them if I have to, and they'll take the abuse. I did make them oversized because I am planning on changing wheels and tires. I think I told you about that. I can cut the plywood out for more clearance. I just tucked everything tight for now. Oh yeah, I got to show you these wheel chocks. These wheel chocks are awesome. These things are designed to snap into E-Track. And I picked 4 of them up when they were on sale at Princess Auto a couple weeks ago. Obviously I can position them anywhere on the machine. I've got the zoom level on this thing freaking horrible right now. So the only thing I have left to do is I've got to get a bunch of nuts and bolts that I can run through the plywood from the E-Track to tie it down in places where there's no structural member underneath. And I Amazoned myself some lights that I can bolt to the back bumper here, because where they were located before was actually technically the back of the frame, which is 8 or 9 inches forward, and that just put the lights in a bad place. I want them all the way back and visible. For now, I'm going to leave my plate on the fender. I've done that before and haven't had too much legal trouble, unless of course you can't see it, in which case, well, I guess I'll have to take my chances. Might move it to the back bumper, but if I do, I got to find a way to locate it that is not going to get threatened with damage, which seems to happen a lot with these flatbed trailers, especially when they're low. So anyways, there she is. All right, so why the change in trailers? Well, it's pretty simple. As I was going to events and doing this and doing that, I found that, you know, no longer was it really sufficient for me to be able to carry one tractor, for example, or a bannerman, for another example. When you've got a 4x8 trailer, 50 inches wall-to-wall inside, you're not getting a bannerman with a 5-foot wide axle in the rear, and you're certainly not getting 2 tractors in it without doing dumb stuff like pulling one up on its end, and even then it's not really fitting, and yada yada yada. I could have cut the sides off, extended the frame possibly in both directions, and basically just rebuilt the entire thing, and I decided that would be a waste of a perfectly good trailer. So I've sold that off, and that's why I'm building this one out of a camper. I will be able to get 2 tractors on it, or 1 bannerman, which is fine. In fact, I'm going to pick up a bannerman tomorrow. Don't get excited, it's for a friend of mine. It's not even coming here. But if it becomes of anything, you'll certainly hear about it on this channel, that's for damn sure. Anyways, that trailer's just about ready to go. I've got to put some tail lights on it. I've got to finish bolting down the E-Track. I've got to find some bolts. As soon as I finish with this damn video, I got to run around and find some bolts for that. And that'll be good to go, because we're picking up the bannerman tomorrow, so I've got to have the tie downs ready. Anyhow, with that all being said, there I guess is your update for the moment. Things are progressing along. I've got to get the shop cleaned out so I can kind of get back to work. Squirrels, I haven't been able to show you that. I literally have not been able to bring myself to show you that. Squirrels got into the attic and destroyed the shop. There was no ceiling in there, as you recall, just vapor barrier and insulation. That is gone, and it's all over the inside of the shop. It's completely destroyed. I've managed to get the squirrels out. You guys can see that I put battens in between all the boards, and I've got wire mesh up in the soffits, and I closed everything up from the backside, and I literally spent months getting those frickin' squirrels out. Now it's just a matter of cleaning it up and returning it all to service. So we're going to get to that soon, so that we can start actually getting back into builds. With all of that said, thank you for continuing to watch Sprocket's Garage on YouTube and sharing and subscribing and all that good stuff. And until next time, take care of yourself.